Hello, it's Thursday, the 3rd of July 2059, and it's been a thrilling first week so far at Wimbledon. But you can tell the heat is beginning to take its toll on the players, with temperatures here in SW19 peaking at around 32 Celsius most days. And it's going to turn even hotter for the end of week one, with highs of 40 Celsius by Saturday. Now, widely across the UK today, temperatures are in the low to mid-30s, with 34 Celsius the expected high at Wimbledon. High pressure remains to the southwest of the UK, drawing up warmth from the subtropics. Temperatures quickly rise again tomorrow, reaching 37 Celsius by late afternoon, the hottest day of the tournament so far. And an uncomfortable night for sleeping for many of us tomorrow night, with lows widely across southern parts of the UK at 20 Celsius or above. Particularly uncomfortable for those fans camping in the ticket queue tomorrow night, with a minimum of 22 degrees at Wimbledon. But even hotter air is on the way, wafting east across southern parts of England, and by Saturday, helped by light winds and strong sunshine, temperatures in SW19 will peak at 40 Celsius. Now, at those temperatures, we'll see once again longer breaks between games and sets. And if you're spectating, remember, drink plenty of fluids, dress appropriately for the weather, and take plenty of breaks from the heat. If you're travelling in on the London Underground, you'll know how hot it can get in weather like this. There's the additional risk that high temperatures such as these could impact transport and power distribution. Some relief is on the way for week two. Winds change direction and much cooler air arrives from the northwest. There's even the chance of some rain. But before we get there, we need to take the severe heat of the next few days very seriously. Thankfully, this isn't a real forecast. It is one scenario for how a summer heatwave could affect the UK in 40 years' time. Now, these are words that express uncertainty, but don't let that lull you into a false sense of security. Much of the uncertainty is because the climate in the 2050s depends partly on how much we reduce global greenhouse gas emissions in the years to come. Greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide, have been rising in our atmosphere since the Industrial Revolution. In that time, the world has warmed by more than a degree Celsius, and if this rate continues, global average temperature could reach 1.5 Celsius above pre-industrial levels within the next 10 to 20 years. In the UK, further warming is also expected. Now, if greenhouse gases continue to rise following a high emissions scenario throughout the 21st century, the middle line on this graph shows the most likely temperature change by 2050. Compared to the 1981 to 2000 average, that would be 1.7 degrees of warming by 2050 and more than 4 degrees warming by 2100. The shaded area represents the full range of likely temperature changes if emissions were to be that high. However, if emissions start to be cut now and reduced to zero by around 2070, the increase is shown on this graph: 1.3 degrees by 2050 and 1.4 by 2100. Action now will make a difference by 2050, but an even bigger difference by 2100. But we're not yet on track for that reduced level of warming, and current policies on greenhouse gas emissions would take us somewhere between these two scenarios, between the blue and red lines. More ambitious global greenhouse gas emissions reductions could limit warming further. The UK has committed to bringing its own emissions to net zero by 2050, and several other nations have also now made similar pledges. The Wimbledon 2059 forecast was based on a high emissions scenario. It's useful to illustrate how our weather patterns may change and what that could look like if we don't curb emissions. Of course, the UK's weather will continue to be highly variable, but on average, in a high emissions scenario, winter rainfall would increase and summer rainfall would decrease. Warmer, wetter winters, hotter, drier summers, we already have an idea of what this would feel like. February 2020 was the wettest on record. In 2019, the UK recorded its highest temperature on record. Summer 2018 was the joint hottest summer on record. 30 years ago, the chance of seeing a summer like 2018 was very low. It's now higher, but by the 2050s, under a high emissions scenario, it's about as likely as not. Hotter, drier summers may not sound like a bad outcome, But as you saw in the example forecast, such severe heat with little relief at night can cause a significant health risk, even for professional athletes, but more especially for vulnerable people. Higher temperatures will also bring many other risks across the UK and even more severe risks elsewhere in the world. Places that are already hot will be even hotter, with millions of people being exposed to dangerous levels of heat on a regular basis. If no action is taken to reduce emissions, those problems will continue to increase in the future.